Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the Market Mindset, where we look at some companies in different sectors, try to find asymmetric gains, look for strong opportunities. It's been a rough summer for sure. And we're just going to have a bit of a recap on some of the companies that we like, that we've been following. There's a lot of stuff on hold for sure. And also we're going to talk a little bit about this latest bill from the US, the Biden, another climate bill. What are they calling this one again? This is the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act.
Yes.
Which has literally nothing to do with inflation, and it's entirely a climate and clean energy bill, and also social justice bill. So good and bad. So how are you doing, Austin? Where are you?
Doing great. We're out in cabin country just outside of Cranbrook. We got a nice little view here.
Beautiful.
Not too bad. So it's a good view to have in the morning while we're sitting out here. And it's great. Good to relax and kick back for a few days. So excited about that.
Yes. Well, we're interrupting your brief hiatus from work, but this is the joys of being able to work from anywhere, is we can get you anywhere, even on holidays.
Exactly. It's nice too, because the cabin has a specific deck Wi-Fi, so I know the connection's going to be strong. They've got one for the dock, for the deck, for the house. It's very nice. It's perfect.
Perfect. Well, have a great weekend. That's going to be great. So let's just jump into this whole listen, there's good and bad to this. Obviously, we're all for money going towards the clean energy, climate stuff, because basically that means it's mining. But what worries me is whenever the language of it isn't specifically like we need to get the materials, like all the materials. Now it does say that they focus on critical minerals like lithium, cobalt, graphite, nickel, manganese. Mm-hmm. So it's good that they make mention of it. I'll have to get into the details to see, are they giving any type of grants or whatnot to any mining companies? I don't know. I don't think so. But it's $369 billion. Now, the irony is, you're going to print another $369 billion, and inflation is money printing. I know that they changed the definition of it, just like right now, if you're not sure, they're changing the definition of recession.
We're not in a recession, bro. It's not happening.
And it's, listen, we've got definitions for a reason. You don't have to panic. It's not the end of the world if we're in so. And I tried to avoid a lot of the political thing, but you can't get over the biggest issues you have with the decline in societies when they change definitions of things. Just like they changed the definition of vaccine, they changed the definition of recession. Words matter, and when you start messing around with them, soon it'll be gravity. What's gravity? And that's coming next, because biology doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't mean anything. So this is the crazy times we live in. But let's pick apart this a little bit, because there's good things. They were able to convert Manchin there, or what's his name, Manchin, over on their side. But that's because he was able to get some concessions for oil and gas as well. So there was some sort of, and not to be too cynical, he did win some concessions that'll allow them to develop oil and gas on federal lands in the Gulf of Mexico. So he's either going to get a contract after he's done politics with a company down there, or he currently owns a lot of stock in that.
He's going to do fine one way or the other. But I mean, that's the unfortunate thing. And I mean, that's a whole other topic of conversation down on the corruption within politics in every country, not just in the U.S. But it's good to see again, and we kind of have to approach this the way we did with the infrastructure bill last year, and say it's good to see that this is the kind of earmarking that they're doing and channeling things in this direction. But where is this actually going to go? When are we actually going to see it get applied? And that's where I personally lose faith in actually seeing any positive outcome from this, other than just more money printing. And I also saw a good piece this morning saying that Biden made this pledge to not raise taxes on the middle class, and could now this inflation act, like the taxes they're going to have to raise to create this extra, $385 billion is probably going to end up raising taxes on people he promised he wouldn't raise it on. So, it is what it is.
It is. I mean, it's too much of a thing to unpack because you deal with it. Unfortunately, once again, everything's political now, and some things I wish they weren't. But they just are. We're working on a paper as well, so about energy realism, and this can tie into even the fertilizer situation, where at least in Canada we're seeing some actual papers and journalists talking about the fertilizer situation, and kind of saying, I don't think Justin Trudeau understands how this is done. I don't think he understands how food production comes about. And that's one place. Like, there's two things you can't mess around with. That's food and energy. These are things it takes a lot of work, and we're talking very smart people. And if you're trying to do a transition, it takes a lot. And unfortunately, we don't have that. We don't. And there is no plan that they've laid out. Like, if they'd had a detailed plan where you could pick it apart, you go, okay, great. But I'm still not even sure where all these trillions went that was for climate change in the last infrastructure stuff, where all that is.
Yeah.
So, there's good and bad. So the bad is obviously there's rough times coming because they've printed more money again to fight the problem of printing money. And I know, Goldman Sachs had a report out, saying that there is no inflation, and then started to try to promote all these things. And it's like, listen, just words matter. We have to deal with reality, and reality is what it is. And let's then focus. And it's going to be tough for a while. We're going to have to ride some things out. I'm not a big fan of government printing money to give to business. I mean, we saw that with Obama, and there was massive failures with the green money. We're going to look at that. We're going to get into the numbers that were spent and lost on that. And I don't mind people trying, but I like to be that there's incentives or encouragement for the public to spend the money, like to invest in it, rather than we're just going to magically come up with the money and tax you. We're going to take control of that situation. Kind of like in Canada, where they say, we'll just have another carbon tax. And you're like, well, that doesn't help. Like, me paying the government doesn't mean that that the environment gets better. It never does. It just means that I'm paying more money.
Especially when you're looking at something that's a basic need. Like, if you're going to put another carbon tax on gas, it's not going to discourage that many more people from driving. It's just going to cause your gas stations to charge an extra 5 to 10 cents per liter, and then that buck is just going to get passed on to the consumer anyways. And the company's not going to lose anything from it either. They're not being given any incentive to actually improve on their processes. They're just shoveling that money along through the funnel. Okay, well, the extra 5 cents, we'll push it on down the line. That's just the way it goes. So like you said, it'd be better to see incentives from the other side of things to encourage it, rather than, okay, let's just raise another tax. Let's just charge extra here. There's got to be more creative ways to do it that will actually encourage growth and change in the sector as well.
Well, it just shows that it's an extreme leftist ideology that we're going to take care of everything. You are not responsible enough. Like, it should be that you'd want to encourage the members in your community, in your society, in your civilization to go, we want to motivate you to put your hard-earned dollars, and you can enjoy the upside of trying to come up with solutions to solve some of these problems, rather than, we're just going to take this money from you and we'll allocate it the way we feel we should because you're too stupid. And that's generally what, most extreme leftist kind of things are, is that, I used to laugh whenever I first came out to BC, when you'd have like a course where you had to take a course in how to hold a flag, those flaggers for construction. And you're like, what? That's a course? Like, you get a certificate? But that's what you get with, it's like you have to have like signs saying how to wash your hands. Like, this is how that works. The absurd, total nonsense of, this is their expectation of what you're like. You're such an animal. You don't understand how to wash your hands. You don't know how to hold a flag. But this is what people want. So we'll leave that alone, though, because there's so much there. I don't mind poking a little bit fun at Manchin, because some will say, hey, you pick on the Democrats too much. Listen, it's on both sides. I mean, I've specifically left out Nancy's trip to Taiwan to check on her investment into Taiwanese semiconductor.
Her husband's investment.
Her husband's $5 million investment into that. Hopefully she got the T-shirt of the tour, though, I'm sure. But it seemed to go well, so that stock should be fine. So that's
the
good.
Chinese started firing ballistic missiles into the ocean, but
And actually, I'm going to do a little work on that note. I'm going to do a little work just to follow things that BlackRock are investing in, because I think as a side kind of project, I might just look to see whatever, like either Pelosi and in different kind of on both sides on the table where they're putting their money, and then BlackRock putting their money. That might be the best model portfolio to follow because they're handing out the cash. So.
Well, there's a long list of, I think it's about 50 or so U.S. politicians that all outperformed the S&P 500 last year. So it's not the worst strategy you could have.
They did really well. Yes, I have that meme somewhere, and we can send it to people if they want. But yeah, they did exceptionally well, especially since none of them are in finance. It's incredible that they did so well.
But, yeah, I'm happy for them.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like that. Sorry, I'm going to mention this too. It was like that one of the Fed chairman who came out and said, "I'm not feeling inflation at all." It's like, it's just the total. They just don't understand how most people live. And I mean, I live in a total bubble. I mean, Vancouver is a total bubble compared to the rest of Canada. But in the U.S., I mean, most of U.S. is not doing so well.
No,
it's really harsh. And if you read the papers, you'd think it's everything's great. Oh, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Everyone, it's not. It's very tough times. It's very tough times for everyone. And we want to make sure that people understand that that's the reality. But we'll move all that aside, and let's just do a little quick recap on, of course, Desert Mountain. That's one that people, I'm not a patient guy. We talked to Robert. I've said it to him before. I'm not a patient guy. We want to see stuff happening. And they did. I mean, they're doing their wildcatting. So they had definitely good indications. So, and they put this out just yesterday in their Gunner Dome project. So they had great showings. So, this is once again, nothing set in stone. This is not assay results or, firm numbers, but at least it's showing that their mass spectrometer has given them some very strong indications. And this is good. This is great. It hasn't helped the stock at all. I don't really care, to be perfectly honest. We're in this thing for the long term. We have absolute belief in the company. So this is just another wildcatting one that is showing promise. So for me, awesome. This is good.
Yeah, it's another arrow in their quiver, kind of. It's another thing that they have to say, look, we've got this. And I think another point to make for people who might get frustrated that you're not hearing as much is, you got to remember that this is a company based in Arizona, where it's difficult to get a lot of work done in the middle of the summer as well.
Yes, it's so hot.
That's something important to keep in the back of people's minds as well, is that, I wish there might be more news coming out that's going to bump the stock up. Well, this is good news to have. And it's a time where it's difficult for them to get a lot of stuff done. You should start to see more of an uptick as we move through the fall and into the winter.
And there is it's a fact of life. There's supply chain issues. I mean, I won't hark on it too much, but GasX, which I own, they have the same issue. They're not as forthcoming with sharing what's happening, but trying to get work, trying to get things done, get pieces of equipment. It's all very difficult. The supply chain issue has not gone away. We don't talk about it quite as much because it's here. It's going to be here for a while. It's just another issue that we're going to have to get through. And I don't expect Desert Mountain to move at all until they have production. I could be wrong, but I'm not really anticipating anything. In a great market, if things were great and the world was doing well and we didn't have war, we didn't have all these issues and tensions flying, the news just for Desert Mountain, this would move the stock a lot. It would be well received. So to me, I just say to people, hang in there. I know even for me, I hate saying that, because it's like, I'm not patient. I want some big news. I think I look at it as being stored up value. They're adding stored up value, and at some point it's going to really be robust. And I have faith in that one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you nailed it on there.
And then, you know what? We'll just jump in. Let's follow another good story with another good story. Salt is doing very well. So this is, one that we've hinted and chatted about back. I think we started really talking about it around the $1.80 mark or something like that. $1.85, $1.86. We're sitting at 382. So not bad in the past 4.5, 5 months. So a big win there. It's trucking along. It's going to have its spin out as well. So it's what's it? So what's the name of that? Triple Point Resources will be the spin out for their dome. So the storage for carbon storage, whether it's going to be hydrogen or if it's going to be what solution will be in that. But that salt has done very well. We've got the salt report that's up on our website.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone wants it, you can have it. It's there. And if for some reason you can't find it, send us an email. We'll get it to you.
We'll forward it. Yeah, easy. Yeah, and it's nice to see that one did so well. And what's the word I'm looking for? It was easy to kind of get locked into that story and see the kind of clear pathway because of not just the massive amount of salt that they were sitting on, but because of that Fisher Dome as well and the ability to do this spin out. It's no wonder that the stocks ran the way it has.
Yes. It certainly caught the attention of a lot of people. There's a lot of momentum in it. And it's like anything. If there's a really good story, it'll cause interest and people, it causes its own success to some degree. So we'll be watching to see what comes out of there in the near future. But that is certainly one that's been doing well. The other one that's a bit of a sleeper and we're working on as well as Avila and Energy. I kind of talked about GasX a little bit. That's a painful one for me because I've been in it for so long. And it's natural gas where it's like Colombia is desperate for natural gas. They need it. The whole world is desperate for natural gas, whether you like it or not. It's a fact. And this has the opportunity to provide clean energy to the region. And it's just, we just want it to start producing. And we're hoping we're going to get a video or some news out of there soon. But Avila, here's a story that is quietly building as well. And that we're very excited about because it's right in our backyard.
Yeah, it's close to home. Obviously, for both of us, they've got projects in Alberta and BC. Really encouraging. They've got sole ownership of those projects as well, and a very clear blueprint of how they are going to move forward and scale this up. They've been, like we've said before, they've been doing so much work behind the scenes while their stock was halted, and they were finalizing all these acquisitions and these joint ventures together. And now that they can move forward with it, it's really cool to see that blueprint and how they're going to knock things off, bump their production up, and their target numbers are really, really exciting when you start to break them down. And that's something that is it's not going anywhere. We're going to continue to need oil and gas, right? So it's a really exciting story for me.
Yeah, and that's where it's not up for debate, and that's where this miswording of things is that we're going to stop using fossil fuels. That's not that. I don't ever think that's going to happen in our lifetime. There aren't, and we focus on all the other solutions. What it would take would be absolutely incredible, and there's been no indication with any of the money, whether it's in the infrastructure bill or in this new climate one, that would get you anywhere near that. It's just not there. You would need to have such a ramp up of nuclear, which we don't see, and I mean massive ramp up. In order to meet that. Also, the other thing I kind of want to mention about this bill too is that so much of it's focused on cars, right? And I get it. Yeah. I get it. The assumption would be if we can convince everyone and really get adoption by cars, so people are open to it, which they are. A lot of people are. Then we'll build the infrastructure because they're like, we don't want to spend the money on the infrastructure and building out the infrastructure if we can't convince people to do the cars. Right. So you can kind of see this. Does the tail wag the dog? Does the dog wag the tail? So I understand what they're going for, but at the same time, they're pushing it as if it's some big carbon win and some big pollution win. The cars on that is such a small percentage of any pollution story. It's very small, and we're going to kind of show that to people as well. But oh, wait, hold on. And also talk about pollution. Serafino. Yes. I've got a comment on here. Do you think, this is about GasX. So it's related. It's energy related. And I haven't previewed the question, so let's see what it is. Do you think you'll have Serafino back on the channel soon to talk about the oil discoveries and building that out? Yeah, I hope so. I've reached out to them. Their IR person is great. He's actually really good. I was kind of teasing, like they don't put a lot out. They don't have anyone like me that works, for them, with them, that's
Right.
covering them, that puts out news and gives their opinions. But if, whenever I do talk to their IR guy, within like literally 10 minutes, he'll get back to me. So that guy is great. He's right on it. He's honest. He's a good guy. So I appreciate him. I had talked to him before saying, hey, are you guys doing any videos, anything coming out anytime? I think they were waiting before they had, something, to talk about. So I'm going to reach out to them again today. So I will. I'll reach out and I'll see, hey, listen, can I get Serafino on? And can I ask him these questions? They'll either be yes or no.
Yeah, exactly.
But thank you for the comment. But yeah, I'm going to try. So I will definitely try. And let's see if we can. And that would be great because there's a lot of good questions I have got. So
absolutely. And it's a story that makes a lot of sense still. It's just like you said, they like to keep their cards a little close to their chest, and they've had a period of time where they've just kind of been waiting to get some things up and going. So it's obviously that can be frustrating for people, but it goes back to kind of something we hearken on a lot is you got to ride through some of these quiet times. It's the same with DME. You got to accept the facts of the market and the situation and ride it out while still understanding, hey, if the fundamentals, if the management team, if that's all sound and they're still hitting their markers, then we're in a great position to keep moving forward on it.
100%. And management owns a ton of this. And I mean, it's Juicer, Serafino. They own a ton of it. They believe in it. I mean, and that's where you want, if they were dumping stock, I'd be worried. But that's not the case. So it's tough because it's hitting a bunch of my check marks that I feel comfortable with. And then it's, and that's me who I can talk to people. Like if you're just a retail investor, it's hard to reach out to go, hey, can I call someone and ask them to reassure me? I even feel that kind of stress. So this one has been a stress on me, but and it's good because I can equate it to the DME story where people write to me and they say, "Oh my God, when's this going to happen?" I'm getting annoyed. And it's like I get it.
Yeah.
It's especially when there's so much annoyance and frustration in all of the market, in all of the news and politics. There's inflation. There's this. It's everyone's on edge, and it's like it's just another thing. Well, now I have to wait more for this plant. I have to wait more for production. So listen, everyone, I get it. But I think if we're patient, we're going to be rewarded on both of them.
Yeah.
So that's great. And I just want to mention as well versus, because this is kind of outside of our general thematic to some degree. I mean, it is Internet of Things, but it's very far looking as well. And I think it's good timing. And versus technology, we did that interview with Gabriel Rene, and we got a lot of feedback, a lot of interest, and a lot of questions. So I'm hoping to have him on again too, because a lot of people were asking like, "Can you do this? What's going on? Like, what's happening here?" And I had like firms from New York reach out, a couple from London, show a lot of interest. Like, oh, so this is interesting. You guys are getting into this. So we got a lot of big feedback about what these guys are up to.
Yeah, that one is, I mean, the easiest way to describe it is just to say it is so cool. And the potential that it has, the different apps, the different programs that they already are capable of doing, not to mention the ones that they could do down the road. It is no wonder that garnered so much attention. For anyone who hasn't watched that video, I strongly recommend going and checking out that interview, because you and Gabriel frame it in such a way that can make sense to kind of the average person like me who doesn't really wrap their head around these very complex spatial web things, that you guys can make it make sense. So for anyone who's even remotely interested, go and check out that interview. Go and check out some of the info on Versus's site, because the potential for this thing is incredible.
It is. I mean, there's no other company I could think that if they can deliver, the potential is astronomical. But I just leave that into La La Land, to be honest. I just go, listen, that's Star Trek world. Like, that's just way over here. If they just do simply the warehouse stuff, that market is massive. So, I mean, let me just, what's the market cap on Versus right now? I don't 40 million shares outstanding. It's at $1. Boom, 40 million.
Yeah.
So they're going to be signing, like hopefully signing contracts with some of these companies that they're working with and they're testing with in the next 6 months. That would be quite large. This is the hope.
Yeah.
That one contract, I believe, is 26 million over 10 years. Now, sure, it's 2 million a year, but that's still 2 million for one company on 40 million shares out. they're working with a ton of Fortune 500 companies right now, and they're showing how effective they are. And so we're hopeful that just this one warehouse application, it's one application, this whole thing could be huge. So let's see. It's going to be a fun ride, and it deals with a lot of these topics that we hear a lot about on both, mostly on the negative side of worried about overreach and privacy and data collection. And believe me, this is all, it's a lot to take in, but this focuses more on the hopeful, the exciting, and we're not glossing over anything. Believe me, like, we're pretty honest about things, but at least it gives something to be more hopeful about, excited about, rather than always thinking negatively, like, hey, they're collecting our data, they're doing this, they're doing that. This is the cool stuff that you can do if you're sharing the data, if you want to share. And that's the one thing that I want to make clear, is that as far as the Spatial Web, the book by Gabriel Rene and Mr. Maps as well, is that theirs is all not induced. It's that you choose to participate. You don't just hand over your data. It's just not mined from you. It's just not taken from you, which is happening today. You have to give it up. You create a digital twin and you encrypt it and you're able to share it. But let's not even get into that, because that's a lot of stuff that people go, what? Digital twin? What are you talking about? My Lord.
Yeah. But it's good to have in the back of people's minds that it's not just going to be something where I sign up for this and it's automatically done. Like you have, it's important, because that matters to people. Obviously, like we've talked about Secure in the past, right? Which is a great company and a great platform.
Yes.
But that really does matter to people. So it's an important thing to highlight, I think.
Good. Well, let's not make this too long. I'm sure you've got some fun stuff to do at the lake. And
I've got a lake to jump in. Yeah,
you got a lake to jump in right now. And everyone should be outside and hopefully enjoying this weekend. It's going to be beautiful here. And thanks everyone. We got to just be a little bit more patient. I've got some homework to try to get Serafino on here. I'll reach out to them today. And there's lots of tense things going on here, but there's lots of good things as well.
Absolutely. And we'll just keep chugging ahead. So have a great weekend, everybody. I know I certainly am. I hope you do, Andrew. And we'll chat to everyone next week.
Perfect. Take care.